Yeah, I mean that's basically. I think we talked a lot about the production and the idea behind it, but we haven't talked about the lyrics yet. And that's also a thing. I have to admit that while producing, I never really listened to the lyrics because I listen to the sound of the voice, of course, and what the voice is doing, and but I listen on a sonic level and not. I'm not focusing on the content of the lyrics. Um, yeah, and maybe you want to tell us a bit more about the overall theme of the record and how you came up with it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first ideas was the Grand Enigma. It's a big title, and the album is dealing with a big issue with life itself and the struggles of finding your place in this world. And it's very deep and complex. And I thought, I don't want to go down that road again, but I want to do something opposite. So if the Enigma was grand, the next thing has to be small and tiny, and it's not like big is good and tiny is bad, but both have their upsides and downsides. And that was one of my initial thoughts, even before I had any idea what the songs might be about. And with that concept in the back of a mind, I really gave that a lot of thought. What are the tiny miracles? What are the things in our lives that make living worthwhile? And we all know the answers that this society has for these questions. It's always bigger and more money, more fame, more success, more whatever. And there are so many small qualities that make life worthwhile, in my opinion, and it's so easy for them to get overlooked.
Yeah, that's interesting because the whole record feels a bit more personal, if you can say that. Maybe a bit more relatable. Um,
And it's not at all. The first one was as personal as it can get. At this time, I didn't really write a single song about a personal theme or issue. I really started looking for possible contents that where I could make a connection to the general idea of tiny miracles. And then I found different resources. For example, I read some novels that translated into lyrics, or one of the tracks, Torn, it's about people telling about them dealing with bipolar disorder and how they struggled with their mental health issues, and how they found ways to grow out of these dead ends. And so, yeah, every track is very different in that regard. And the only song that really got like no influence from outside is the title track.
mm-hmm. It's very interesting, but what it does to me is different. It feels more personal, even though it maybe isn't. But maybe focusing on the smaller things makes it more relatable.
Yeah, maybe because the topic is such a general one, and every
Yeah,
one of us has to find his own answers to these questions in life. And
yeah.
yeah.
But how do you approach writing the lyrics? I find that always very hard. I really have to get into the zone.
Mhm. Me too.
I,
I
I
suffer so much when writing lyrics.
yeah. So is it just discipline? Do you say, okay, it's 1 p.m. today, I will sit down and write lyrics?
Again, it totally depends. Let's pick an example. The first track of the album, Cabin in the Woods, is based on that classical US-American novel Walden by Thoreau. And I recall that I completely read the novel, and then I read it a second time and started writing down some like key phrases, or start to think about how might a whole novel translate in a structure that is usable for a song,
Mhm.
because you're very limited in the space that you have for elaborating on a topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How much time did it take you to write all these lyrics? Can you give an estimate how long it took to finish all the lyrics?
Mm, I mean, it's hard to tear it apart again because I stuck to that approach of writing lyrics and vocal lines in parallel. So I always like have a cloud of words and a rough idea what maybe the content of a verse going to be about.
Yeah.
And then I'm messing around with rhymes and with lengths of a single line and how that translates according to what's the underlying music. Do I want George to have many syllables? Do I want him to have long drawn out lines? And that always ping pongs between the words I choose or the phrases that I choose and where I end up.
That
So
would have been my next question, actually. Do you already hear George's voice while writing the lyrics?
yeah, definitely. I mean, after the first album, one of the biggest learning benefits was that I've got now George Margaritopoulos VST in my head that I can put on and off. And I'm so good really at imagining uh, what he's gonna make out of something. I mean, we had like 2 or 3 situations on the whole album where his first singing attempt didn't match with my vision. But in 95% of the cases, I wrote it, he sang it, I listened to it back and said, yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So it's a lot of things to focus on at the same time, basically, to make high quality lyrics, to write the lines for George so that it fits for his voice and his
Mm.
style of singing, and to make it fit into the whole song.
Yes.
That's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months probably for writing the lyrics and the vocal lines.
But not working on it every day.
I never work on it every day. It's always a little bit of on-off, depending on how much spare time I've got. But there
Yeah.
were quite intense phases. I recall the lyrics for A Cabin in the Woods. I wrote these in, I don't know, 3 or 4 intense days during my holidays. And with other songs, it took much longer to get them to the point where I said, okay, let's head over to recording the vocals.
Yeah. Do you write the lyrics on your computer or in a little notebook on your balcony while sipping cocktails?
Mostly on the computer or on a laptop while sitting on the balcony and sipping cocktails.
Okay. So it's a mixture of leisure and office work.
It has to be like that.
Yeah.
It has to feel a bit like leisure because I tend to put so much pressure on myself in coming up with good results that I need a benign surrounding to not jump out of the window.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so maybe let's do a little bit of rollback. When you started making the first decisions for the second album, what ideas did you have in mind? What experiences from album number 1 did you maybe want to avoid or to develop in a specific direction? How can I imagine that?
There were two things that I wanted to avoid. First of all, it's sounding so thin again. So I was really focused on bass and to make it punch. And also I wanted to avoid the back and forth when it came to guitar sounds, which
We didn't make that.
we didn't make that. No, I think it's fair to say that we failed miserably.
Yes, time and again.
Time and again, exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess these are the two main things. And also the thing I thought about on the way here today, how it's very challenging to make each song coherent in itself because there are so many parts and so many things happening. But after listening to it for like in the worst case 18 minutes or whatever it is, or 21, um, it still has to feel like one song, not like a combination of separate parts. And so that was one of the things I really paid attention to make it balance-wise even over the whole course of one song.
So was that something when looking back at the debut that you were unhappy with?
No, I don't really know if I'm unhappy with it, but I think if it turned out okay, it was more by accident than by choice.
Okay, I see.
And this time it was way more conscious. But also the songwriting had changed and the sounds had changed already and were more mature and made it easier to keep that flow going. But still, the production process that we are dealing with is, again, very different than recording a band. And maybe you record the drums first and then the bass or guitars, or however you want to. And the bass line is already set. And we don't have that. We have complete freedom, basically, which sounds like a dream, but is actually a bit of a nightmare because you can go in every direction that you want to. So you have to make decisions to keep this coherence. And I was very, very conscious about that and was actively questioning myself after each mix revision. I mean, we had a ton of mix revisions, but also because I send out very early versions to you. I think the finalizing is always quite quick, actually.
Yes, actually it is.
Yeah, that was really one of the main takeaways for me and one of the things that I think I really incorporated well in the process of producing the second record there.
Yeah, and one interesting thought that just popped up regarding making decisions more consciously. I think that's also one aspect why I love to leave all the sound decisions to you regarding guitar sounds or whatever, because I already have to make so incredible many decisions with the songwriting, with the lyrics, with everything around Sad Serenity, and it feels very relieving for me to have an aspect where I can lean back and give you like an order. I'm giving you the order to find the good guitar sound, and then you throw something back at me, and then I can sit there and listen to it and can just decide, do I enjoy it or not? And I don't have to get into all these details as well.
And that's very cool on the one hand and very difficult on the other hand, because it also was a huge learning curve to understand what you like. That's the beauty of making music. There is no right or wrong. If someone likes it, it's right, whatever it is. If it's you, I don't know, smashing your kitchen door and you want to record it and you like it, then it's cool. So how would I know? I had to get into your head, basically, and try to understand, which also...
Well, there is nothing much to fight in there in that regard. So
No, I know. I've been in there, and it's quite empty.
Yes, I know. No, but my intention was more that you listen to like what's standard in contemporary prog metal and get some inspiration from there and throw it back at me.
Especially when it comes to drum sound, because I wasn't really happy with the drum sound on the first record, primarily because the drums were programmed. It was very static, and I don't like static drums at all. So I, to make some name dropping here, I definitely watched a lot of videos by Nolly, because he has an approach, especially lately when it comes to mixing drums, that he tries to keep the natural sound of the drums. He doesn't bury it with samples and everything. He also takes great care in recording great drum sounds. at Middle Farm Studios in England, and I watched a lot of these videos. And actually, one thing that you don't know yet, the drums on these records are entirely P5.
It's P5 again. You switched it back again because that was one of the first ideas that you had when we were talking about drum songs.
Yeah, and then I quickly tried it, and I wasn't too happy with the. I just switched through the presets, and it didn't get me where I wanted it to go. And then I went back to my default Superior Drummer 3, which is very good. But then we started the first mix that turned out not to be a mix. And I was like, come on, let's try it again, because I really like what Nolly does with the drums. And I mean, he did the P5 library essentially. And then I started to build a custom combination of shells and cymbals within the limits of the plugin, and all of a sudden it just clicked somehow, and I left it at that.
So when did you make that transition? Because I didn't notice at all.
I did it quite early. I think it was last year sometime when after we did the mix session at my place. Then we had some very rough mixes for every song, and then I decided to basically restart. And I kicked out all the drums, I kicked out all the bass sounds, I kicked out all the guitar sounds, and started completely from scratch.
Okay, so I didn't miss it somewhere in the process, but the 2.0 versions of the mixes that we started with were already with the new drum sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
of them. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. No, but it's quite obvious now. If you compare these two, I sometimes go back to have a bit of a cringe moment to the first versions we did, and it was certainly a good decision to switch.
Yeah, and it was definitely a moment of megalomania when we decided that we want to pull through the whole mix in a week.
Yeah, that was a bit stupid.
But we're here to learn.
We're here to learn, and I actually took away a lot of things from the sessions we did there, because I printed a lot of the stuff and used it in the new mixes. So it definitely helped to make progress, but it was far off the final results.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So yeah, that was really one big thing. And then I also tried to, just keep it a bit simpler. I used less plugins on the amps, and the bass is just parallax, nothing else anymore. Before we had a combination of different amps and some tricks that were maybe not necessary. So I tried to simplify everything a bit, because we might have gone a bit overboard, or well, I say we, it was me. Because of the many options. That's what we just talked about. We can do everything. Nothing is set in stone. And making it simpler really helped. So even if the bass has a clean part, it's usually almost always still parallax, just with less distortion and a bit different EQ settings, and maybe mic on the cap. But I kept it very consistent throughout the record, and made some minor adjustments that suit the part.
Yeah, and that really pays off. As you said, in terms of consistency, that's a completely different level than the debut album.
Yeah.
But let's stay a bit with the drums, because you said before that you didn't like or you generally don't like static drums. Was that just on the sound aspects, or has it also something to do with the programmed MIDI drums now compared to us having a real drummer this time?
Yeah, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it's MIDI is still digital, but the feeling of the drummer is much more incorporated. And Also, when you program drums, you are not a drummer. You can never program drums like a drummer would, even if the drummer wouldn't play it, but just program it. They would have different ideas in their head and create certain parts differently, especially when it comes to velocities, for example. It's very tempting with programmed drums to make everything very even and very much on the grid, and it becomes robotic real fast. And now that we have Vinny, who did a fantastic job in drumming all the parts, even the super complex stuff, in no time, basically. He was very fast. I, of course, did a lot of editing, and I made it more gritty on point than he played it, especially because all the guitars and bass were already recorded and edited and pretty much very tight. So the drums have to match that somehow. But you would actually be surprised how loose they are in certain parts to actually be act as a counterpart to the very tight guitars and leave a bit of breathing room in the end. Also, yeah, the velocities, I don't know if they translated super well with the MIDI kit. He used a very good one, but still, I don't know if it's 100% the same as if you would play it on a regular drum kit. No, definitely isn't. I know that it isn't. But I could get the ideas. Velocities on toms were very low. It, of course, sounds different with every library that you use, but you get the idea how he intended to play it. And that made the whole process of dealing with drums way more enjoyable.
What was really interesting for me, speaking of robotic sounding drums, actually, when I programmed then, I was very differentiated with the velocities. And when I first looked at Vinny's MIDI recordings, I was really surprised how, kind of binary they are. There's like a low velocity and a pretty high velocity and a max velocity, but the difference between one note and the next may be so big. I would never program drums like that because I'm maybe thinking too much in what would be perfect in the book,
Yeah. And you can't even think about how it will sound when you program it because every library reacts differently. So 105 in one library is completely different than 105 in another. So yeah, that's really tough to do. Yeah, and especially it's not only the velocity; it's also the timing. To leave it more space to breathe. A human will never be perfect while recording, and that's fine. I think you have to embrace it. That's also, we're coming back to options, and we can do everything here because while working in a DAW, you can make it 100% perfect, whatever that is. But that's not enjoyable for the human ear. We are used to little imperfections. And I think that's something we can also embrace even more on the next record, to just let it breathe. There are so many parts that deserve to have room. There are also other parts which are completely on grid and they have to be super, super tight. And I enjoy switching back and forth within a song between these extremes.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's maybe talk about what's going to happen with this record, because the first one got some great reviews, and I think if we got feedback, it was almost always positive. Maybe always. I think
there was one review that was a bit critical, particularly on the programmed drums.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, rightfully.
And on what we talked about earlier, the sound, despite going for such a cinematic approach, still being too thin and too boxy and whatever. So
yeah, but that's fair criticism.
Definitely,
absolutely right. Yeah, but what's your hope with this one? Because I think The first one didn't maybe get the attention the songwriting deserved, it is hard to make a record known in the world because there are so many records coming out. But what would you wish for?
Yeah, I'm always a bit sensitive about these things because I mainly try to write music that I would love to listen to. So I'm trying to get my head as free as possible from potential expectations of other people listening to the music. So of course, in the end, I would be glad if people enjoyed what we did. And if they do, I hope that the word will spread and more people will get to know about Sad Serenity and have the chance to listen to it and maybe find a place in their hearts for it.
Yeah.
Aside from a Grammy nomination or a Long Track of the Year nomination or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm with you there. But and I also hope for a bit of maybe a financial reward is too big, but just someone buying the vinyl would be cool,
Not only the vinyl, generally every step of people throwing money at us, may it be for a vinyl record, may it be for CDs, may it be for shirts, everything helps, not to make us rich and famous, but to have a financial basis to tackle the next album.
That's exactly the thing, because it's definitely not free what we're doing here. It's not only thousands of hours. The production cost is quite immense. I mean, the mastering and the design and everything. So it adds up, actually. It's a very expensive hobby, and every little income would make it easier to tackle the next one.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, with the second album, we basically paid for everything again, because the money we received from the debut was so little. It was just like a tiny little addition to the money we would have to bring to the table to pay our artists and everything you mentioned before.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a financial reward would be helpful in sound better and get faster to the point of releasing a new album and whatever.
So everybody listening to this, if you can afford it and if you like it, we would appreciate it a lot if you would maybe buy a shirt, a CD, a vinyl, not only stream it, because with the projects this size, streaming is basically, it doesn't do anything. The payouts are so little, it doesn't really help, unfortunately, of course.
Yes, and to underline that point, I just looked at how much we received in royalties from streaming the album in 2024. And I'd like to ask you to guess. How much did we earn?
Streaming only in 2024?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's, I would say, like $18 or something.
It's somewhere between 7 and 8 euros from all streaming platforms.
I was a bit optimistic here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is no foundation for, not talking about making a living, but even financing a record.
No, but I mean, making a living with this project has never been the goal. It's a fun project, basically. But still, I think it's absolutely okay to hope for a bit of a financial reward that makes it easier to keep going with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so fingers crossed that we will get the word out, and I hope that people will like it.
Yeah, I mean, what's really helpful with the first album, we built quite a few connections. There's quite a few people and reviewers and online magazines and streamers who we got in touch with and who will be already knowing what to expect from getting news from Sad Serenity, that there is a second album to be listened to and reviewed and talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it might be a bit easier this time, but I also want to make clear that I'm not bitter or anything about the result of the first record, because you can't have the expectation that you put out a record and everybody goes crazy and buys 5,000 records off of you, because you have to get known somehow. And the only way to get known is to somehow constantly put out music. With this music, you can't go the easy way and put out a 2.5-minute song every 2 months. You have to put in all the work. So I think we're going in the right direction. It just takes time. It always takes time if you want to build something properly.
Yeah, also no bitterness on my side. I mean, we are not a touring band, and I think that's a very important factor in getting known. And we're completely at zero on that side of things. So we completely have to rely on people spreading the word or talking about it on the internet or whatever to have people know about it. I mean, we're not signed with a record label which does promotion for us or anything. We do basically everything on our own, and that makes the road we are moving on a little bit more rocky.
Potentially, yes. So if anybody's watching who has any idea about music marketing, please get in touch. Because that's not our main focus. I mix and produce music live and in the studio for a living, and you create music and you teach music for a living, and these aspects are super important for us. And marketing is such a different area that if you are not deeply into it, you can't be really good at it. And there is just no time to do this on a professional level as well. It's beyond resources. So any help would be appreciated in any form.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I'm excited for it to come out and to enjoy holding it in my hands, having it as a final product.
Yes, it's not gonna be too long from now on. I mean, you're going to master the album with Kim in like a week or something.
On Thursday, yeah,
On Thursday.
is mastering. Yes.
So I'm expecting the masters on Friday, so I can send them off to the pressing factory on Saturday.
Yes, and I would love to have some more interaction going on and getting feedback and input. That's always a driving force if you can pick other people's brains about what you're doing, because I think we can't deny that we are very much in our own world when we work on these songs, and there is no outside influence, except for feedback from your wife or stuff like that, but that's still the inner circle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember once that I was writing drums with Vinny, and we were a bit indecisive on which approach to use for a specific part. And I got some demos and sent them to a bunch of friends to get some input, which approach they would prefer. And as far as I recall, that was really the only moment that we drew in feedback from external listeners.
Yeah. I think the only person, except for us, that have listened to it are Bastian, who did the artwork, and Kim to prepare for mastering. But the feedback was already very positive, so that's a good sign, I think, because he can be very critical, and usually he's very much right when he's critical. So I'm excited to see what happens and what gets thrown at us.